So, have you seen that recent analysis by Douglas Macgregor on the Russia Ukraine situation? He's
Yeah,
really
I've caught parts of
exposing
it.
some interesting angles, right?
Absolutely. His take on how Russia's edge is being maintained and Ukraine's unraveling really grabs attention, yeah?
Exactly. And it's not just about the military maneuvers. He dives deep into Western strategy, critiquing their approach.
Right, I
It's
remember that
like he's
part.
saying conventional tactics are falling apart in the modern geopolitical arena.
True. He highlights how Western military strategy may be outdated in dealing with nuanced conflicts, especially when unconventional methods are at play.
Yeah, and it's like he's suggesting that the West may be like misreading the scenario entirely. The
Yes,
idea is
exactly.
that the traditional support given to Ukraine might be inadvertently allowing a kind of strategic unraveling from within.
Right? But don't you think his perspective might be a bit too one sided at times? I mean, it almost seems to paint a deterministic picture where Russia has this weathered advantage.
Well, yeah, you could say that. I mean, he does assert that Russia's military prowess, its operational experience, and even its internal strategic coherence give it a sort of edge.
I get
But
that.
isn't that a fair argument given the current dynamics?
I see your point, but isn't it also true that there are so many moving parts in this conflict? I mean, the West's involvement, economic pressures, and the unpredictable nature of modern warfare all like muddy the waters a bit.
Definitely, and that's where McGregor's analysis gets a bit contentious. He pushes the narrative that the Western strategy is faltering because it's not keeping pace with the rapid shifts in global power structures. But
Yep,
some might
sounds about
say
right.
it overlooks other elements like humanitarian concerns or diplomatic layers.
Yeah, true. And his focus seems to be primarily on military strategy and geopolitical power shifts rather than the more, multidimensional aspects of the conflict.
Exactly, exactly. In the video, he lays out like a timeline of events. He talks about recent developments, the collapse of certain Western approaches, and even global implications, which is pretty bold. It's almost like he is framing it as a sort of
I
tipping
agree.
point in global politics.
And uh, that's what makes his analysis so provocative, isn't it? He doesn't pull any punches when it comes to critiquing the established narrative.
Absolutely. It's like he's challenging the status quo head on. I mean, when he says the West's approach is like faltering, he's essentially calling into question a whole system of thought that has dominated geopolitics for decades. And that sparks a lot of
Right,
debate.
indeed. Yeah, it's a bit like saying, why keep playing by the old playbook when the game has completely changed? But do you think his military background influences his bias in analysis?
Oh, for sure. His military experience gives him a particular lens to view these conflicts. He approaches it with a tactical mindset, which can be, well, both insightful and limiting. It's like
I
his
definitely see
perspective
that.
is very much grounded in battlefield realities, which might miss out on some of the socio-political nuances.
Exactly. And speaking of nuances, his discussion on the internal collapse within Ukraine is quite striking. I mean, it presents an image of unraveling that goes beyond just external military losses.
Right, it's almost like he's interpreting the internal dynamics, like morale and leadership, as being as crucial as external confrontations. Though I
Yeah,
wonder
that's
if
an
he
interesting
suffers
angle.
from overgeneralization sometimes.
You know what? I was thinking the same. It almost feels like he simplifies the internal issues to fit his narrative of Western strategy failure, right?
Precisely. It's as if he's saying, here's why the West is on a downward spiral, by attributing too much uniformity to a very chaotic situation.
That's
But
a
then
valid
again,
critique.
his points do spark further discussion on the real challenges in modern conflict management.
True. And his approach definitely forces us to re examine conventional wisdom. I mean, the video's title itself, Douglas Macgregor exposes Russia's edge and Ukraine's unraveling, sets a dramatic tone that pulls you in.
Yeah, it grabs attention. And the production style on Real Talk World is also like in depth and direct. It doesn't shy away from controversial
Right,
statements.
definitely.
It's designed to provoke discussion and get people thinking critically about the geopolitical realities of today.
And what about his take on global power shifts? He seems to suggest that what's happening in Ukraine could be a bellwether for a larger global reordering of power.
Absolutely. It's almost like he's warning us about a shifting global landscape where traditional alliances might not hold up anymore. It really
Yes,
makes
I
the
noticed that
audience
too.
question what the future of international relations might look like.
Right. And his critique of the West's handling of the conflict introduces a um, compelling argument about strategic misalignment. But I have to ask, do you think his perspective might be too um, militaristic in nature?
Well, definitely, you know? His military background shines through in his analysis, which means he focuses a lot on tactical and
Yeah,
operational
totally.
aspects. But perhaps that is also what makes his insights so unique. It's like, well, he brings in that hard edged realism.
I get that, but I also feel like it might dismiss some softer yet vital dimensions, like economic and humanitarian factors, which are just as crucial in this conflict.
True, true. And that's where the debate gets interesting. Is a strictly military analysis enough to capture the entirety of such a multifaceted conflict?
That's a
It
good point.
definitely brings up a broader discussion on how we analyze geopolitical events.
Yeah, and I find that the video, while focusing on military strategy, indirectly nudges us to think about the larger implications for global politics overall.
Absolutely. It opens up questions like what does the unraveling in Ukraine say about the future of Western diplomacy and
Right,
alliances?
indeed.
It's a sort of wake up call to rethink old assumptions.
And it also makes you wonder about the potential realignment of power. Could we see a scenario where emerging alliances, maybe even between unlikely partners, reshape the global order?
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect, you know? One conflict that affects so many other spheres diplomatic, economic, military and might very well change how nations interact in the future. The
Yeah.
ripple analogy is quite fitting for such far reaching repercussions.
Still, while his insights are provocative, I think it's important we consider them as one perspective among many. There are layers to this conflict that may not be fully captured by a single analysis.
Totally agree. And that's why discussions like these are so important. They force us to delve deeper and weigh multiple angles critically.
Yep,
Even if
really.
one might challenge his views, his arguments spark a much needed debate on modern warfare and strategy.
You know, it's fascinating how he blends history, military doctrine, and current events to construct a narrative that's as detailed as it is controversial.
Absolutely. And while some may find his tone a bit combative, it certainly adds to the intensity of his arguments. It's like
Absolutely.
he dares you to rethink the mainstream narratives.
Exactly. And that, I think, is the real value here. It's not just that he tells you what he believes, but he pushes us to ask hard questions about our world and its future.
For sure, and I like that he's not sugarcoating any of it. Whether you agree with him or not, his detailed breakdown forces critical analysis. It makes
Yeah,
the whole
indeed.
conversation about global strategy and power shifts that much more vibrant.
And bringing it back to the title, exposes Russia's edge and Ukraine's unraveling, it truly encapsulates that dual narrative. One side might be seen as gaining strength, while the other seems to be disintegrating, at least in the eyes of his analysis.
Exactly. And while I think his perspective may be a bit, stark or even oversimplified by some, it undeniably serves as a catalyst for debate on how we see strategic power erode or evolve in these turbulent times.
I completely agree.